On the morning of February the 9th, 1855, the county of Devon in southern England lay silent beneath a fresh blanket of snow. It had fallen quietly in the night, smoothing every field, every rooftop, every garden into a clean white sheet. But when the people of the villages stepped out of their doors that morning, they found something waiting for them in that snow. A single line of strange footprints, running arrow straight through the frozen landscape, as far as the eye could follow. And no one, then or now, has ever been able to say what made them. The prints were small and precise, shaped like tiny hooves or horseshoes, each one roughly 4 inches long and about 3 inches wide. They were spaced with an unsettling regularity, one after another in a near-perfect line, as though whatever left them had walked on 2 legs rather than 4. In some places the tracks were pressed so cleanly into the snow that villagers said they looked branded, as if the snow had been scorched away rather than simply flattened by a passing foot. What terrified people most was not the shape of the prints, but where they went. The trail did not wander the way an animal wanders. It ran straight across open fields, then reached a high wall and appeared again, unbroken, on the other side. It crossed rooftops and haystacks. It approached the mouths of drainpipes barely large enough for a cat and continued out the far end. It walked up to the doors of houses, paused, and turned away. It moved through the county as if walls, rivers, and buildings simply did not exist. As word spread from parish to parish, people began comparing notes, and the true scale of the thing emerged. The tracks were reported in Exmouth, Topsham, Dawlish, Teignmouth, and more than 30 other towns and villages scattered across the Devon countryside. When investigators tried to map the full route, the estimates were staggering. The single trail seemed to stretch somewhere between 40 and 100 miles, all made in the space of one winter night, between the fall of the last snow and the first light of morning. That distance alone made the mystery almost impossible. No single animal could travel 100 miles in a few hours, in deep snow, in a dead straight line, without pause or deviation. And the trail crossed the estuary of the river Exe, a wide stretch of open water. On the far bank, the prints simply continued, as though whatever made them had walked across the surface, or over the water entirely. To the frightened people of Devon, there seemed to be only one explanation. Something not of this world had passed through in the night. By nightfall, fear had gripped the region. Local clergymen spoke gravely of the devil himself walking the earth, and the cloven, hoof-like shape of the prints only deepened that dread. Armed men gathered into search parties and followed the tracks with dogs and guns, determined to find whatever had made them. But the dogs, it was said, refused to follow the scent, whimpering and backing away. The men trudged mile after mile through the cold, and the trail led them onward and onward, but never once to a beginning or an end. News of the affair reached London, and the story landed in the pages of the Times and the Illustrated London News. Suddenly the whole country was debating the mystery of the Devon footprints. Letters poured in from readers, naturalists, and clergymen, each offering a theory more confident than the last. Yet the more people examined the evidence, the stranger it became, because every ordinary explanation seemed to collapse against one detail or another of the tracks themselves. Some argued the prints were made by a badger, or a cat, or a hopping rodent whose paw marks had melted and refrozen into hoof shapes. Others blamed escaped kangaroos from a private menagerie, though no menagerie was ever confirmed. Birds were suggested, since some birds leave a single trailing line, but no bird walks over rooftops and through drainpipes. The naturalist Sir Richard Owen declared the culprit was simply a badger. But none of these creatures could explain a straight, unbroken line stretching across an entire county. More imaginative minds reached for stranger answers. Some proposed an escaped experimental balloon, trailing a shackle or rope that bounced along the snow and left hoof-shaped dents as it drifted on the wind. It was a clever idea, but a wind-blown balloon does not travel in a perfectly straight line for 100 miles, nor does it obediently walk up to doorways and turn back. Every solution that explained one feature of the trail seemed to make another feature impossible. Modern researchers have picked over the case with cooler heads, and they raise a fair point. In 1855 there was no coordinated survey, no photographs, no careful measurements taken across every village at once. The reports came from dozens of separate witnesses, days apart, each describing what they saw in their own corner of the county. It is entirely possible that several different animals, several different nights of frost and thaw, and a great deal of frightened imagination were stitched together into one impossible, unified trail. And yet, that explanation has its own hole. The core of the story is remarkably consistent. Witness after witness, in town after town, describe the same small hoof-like shape, the same airy regularity, the same refusal of the trail to obey walls and rivers. Something happened in Devon on that February night, something strange enough to send armed men into the snow and to frighten an entire county into talking about the devil. Whether it was one thing or 100, no one has ever fully explained it. Nearly 2 centuries later, the devil's footprints remain one of the most peculiar unsolved episodes in British history. The snow that held the answer melted within days, taking the evidence with it and leaving behind only the accounts of the people who saw it. Was it a badger, a bird, a drifting balloon, or a shared panic dressed up as a monster? Or did something truly walk across Devon that night, straight and silent and unstoppable, leaving a trail that led everywhere and nowhere? The snow has never given up its secret.